Hey guys, I'm over here making another steak in my chef maker, but this video is not really about the chef maker, although it's become an integral part of my daily plan. And it's not about carnivore crisps either, though they are a big part of my plan as well. Every once in a while, like today, when I get off of work, I want to come home and make a steak. I haven't eaten much today. I had a couple of eggs, I've had a lot of water, but I am ready for a steak. And I have found a neat way to cook my steak and get my workout in, and I thought, you know what, why not come and talk to you guys too? I got something to share with you about a video I was watching yesterday with Russell Brand, talking about how the food out there, he said in the title specifically fast food, is making you stupider and also making you depressed. Since he's bringing it up, let's talk about it. So for me, you guys know how much I love making steaks from frozen, and I have found a way to use the Dreo Chef Maker to make just absolutely the best steaks I've ever had without having to think about how long it's going to take to cook. And also, it's allowed me to be able to get in some exercise while I'm cooking. It's a great combination. Let me tell you about what I do here before I go for my ruck. That's why I'm already dressed. I'm ready to get going. I've just cooked this 20-ounce steak for the last 12 minutes at 400 degrees. It was frozen when I put it in, but that should give it enough time for me to be able to stick in this temperature probe and get it into the center deep enough to where I can set this thing for sous vide mode, and it give me enough time to get a nice ruck in. And I'm flipping the steak because I'm having to do this two-step process, so it really helps to get it brown all the way around. So I've already done classic cook for 12 minutes at 400 degrees. I'm going to go back to chef mode and select beef. I'm going to select ribeye, medium rare, sous vide flavor. And normally it takes 45 to 75 minutes. Now, and I got to add water. And then while I'm walking, my phone will be able to tell me how we're progressing along too, so I can kind of have an idea of when I might need to start heading back. The last couple of times I did this with larger steaks, this one's a 20-ounce, it's actually small compared to the last two I cooked. I used 27-ounce steaks the last time. Let me get my leash so I can get Sam and we'll head out. All right, so my chef maker shows that it's cooking now and I can keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, let's take a look at this video from Russell Brand and talk about it a little bit.
The food you're eating is not only causing you cancer, it's also making you stupid. Most food is now so bad for you, you'd be better off just eating tablets and staring off into limitless space, drooling. A new study suggests that much of the processed food we're eating is not only causing us cancer and diabetes and heart disease, it's also literally making us stupid and therefore easier to manage.
New research suggests they could hurt our mental health as well. A new study out of Italy links ultra-processed foods to depression. And some of you out there might be at higher risk.
Because you're eating stuff you're not supposed to eat. Try not to eat heavily processed food, heavily processed sugars and seed oils. These things are killing us.
Ultra-processed food make up nearly 60% of Americans' diets on average.
A diet heavy in ultra-processed food could be responsible for increasing your risk of depression.
Those whose diets were comprised of at least 30% ultra-processed foods were at much higher risk of psychological distress.
So Russell starts off by letting us know, or sharing the news story about a study out of Italy where it talks about how the food that we eat is actually causing mental health issues. We've talked about this before on this channel. Depression and anxiety seem to go down for everybody who tries this way of living. And though we've talked about that a lot on this channel, and I've heard it on other carnivore channels and from a lot of other carnivores, how they have been able to get rid of anxiety, to get rid of depression by this way of eating. And I'm glad to hear that there are other studies. It isn't just eating meat, though I still think eating meat is the preferred way to go because it's what's going to give you the strength that you need to be able to do what you need to do. Just getting that processed garbage out of your life, the seed oils and the sugar, as he said, those are two of the key things that not only are hurting our bodies, but they're the thing that gets us hooked.
Things like diet soda, things that we might consider to be relatively healthy for us.
I mean, this all looks normal. Firstly, that's the food that I grew up on, and it's still the food I crave right now.
While the packet stuff is often cheaper, it's not always the case. This protein bar just cost me $3.
So in that part of the video, he's talking about how the ultra processed foods, what they are are the things that we sometimes think are considered healthy. They're definitely marketed to us as healthy. And we've talked about that on this channel as well, because when I was doing the Atkins diet years ago, and I got most of my weight loss simply following the instructions that Dr. Atkins gave me, which was primarily a low carb diet, and it did a great job. But after he died, it seemed like the company decided we need to make a lot of money off these things that we could sell that are low in sugar, and they use malitol and sorbitol and all the other alls they can think of to replace the sugar. But it didn't suppress the cephalic phase insulin response your body would do, which would cause you to produce insulin to deal with sugar, and then there would be no sugar in your body for it to deal with, leading you to become insulin resistant. And this is where I think a lot of people who are doing a diet that's low carb, they might say, well, I'm not doing strict carnivore, I'm a dirty carnivore, I do a little carnivore, I take cheat days and all of these other things. But even more importantly, if you think you're eating healthy food and it comes in a package, and you look at the list of ingredients, and the ingredients don't read like my carnivore crisps do, which say grass-fed beef, water, and salt, then you're eating something you shouldn't be eating. If you can't pronounce what's on the package, if there's more than 3 ingredients, you pretty much need to just put it down. I don't care how healthy they're marketing it as.
Roughly 60% of the calories in the average American diet come from highly processed foods. Research from the past 10 years or so has shown that the more ultra-processed food a person eats, the higher the chances that they feel depressed and anxious. Ultra-processed foods are carefully formulated to be so palatable and satisfying that they're almost addictive.
Another thing I like about Russell Brand is that he is, as a vegan, is willing to say that he's not at war with the carnivores out there. And that's why I've enjoyed watching his channel. He seems to be much more open-minded than I ever thought he would be, especially growing up watching him in the 90s and the 2000s. I thought he was an absolute idiot.
And if you do need me to tell you, God help you, because I'm an idiot.
But lately he's been taking on a lot of big interests and not being afraid to speak truth to power. So that's why I don't mind sharing what he had to talk about here today. And I wanted to be able to address some things with people, because I realize how easy it is for us to say, oh, I'm doing a carnivore diet. But if you're eating any of those slim fast foods or Atkins foods or keto this or whatever type of packaged garbage is out there, and it isn't just natural ingredients like beef, water, and salt, then you need to put it down. I promise you, it's not helping you, it's sending you in the wrong direction, and it's not going to help you attain the goals you're trying to attain. Believe me, I know, because I've been down all the same paths you're going down now if you're doing that. Nothing worked like getting strict about taking care of what I put in my body. I started with ruminant meat, water, and salt on Lion Diet, and maybe my body has just had too much over the years of all the foods that I shouldn't have been eating. Even when I thought I was eating healthy food, I tended to eat a lot of sweets. I wasn't afraid of processed foods, but I also tried to eat low carb. That didn't do the trick. The key came when I finally decided to go full Lion Diet. And now I have a delicious steak just about every day. Sometimes I have some hamburger meat. I usually have my hamburger with organs mixed in. So I get the beef heart, I get the kidney, I get the liver, I get all the nutrients that those organs have, and I feel better than I have in my whole life. I'm about to be 51 years old. I'm out here rucking with a 40-pound pack on after working all morning, taking my dog out for a walk. I mean, it's just been life-changing. The changes that it's brought about for me mentally, as we talked about earlier in the video, have changed my marriage, because being in a state of anxiety and depression certainly made me quite a bit less lovable for my wife. And we went through some rocky patches where she just didn't enjoy being around me, where she felt like she was walking on eggshells all the time. And I know a lot of women in that same boat with their men, because their men are emotional messes that they shouldn't be, and it has a lot to do with the food you're eating. Speaking of food, let me check and see where we are on cooking here. My internet's a little sketchy out here in the woods, so sometimes I lose connection. Well, I'm still in the calculating phase, so that tells me I got a little bit of time left, and I'm a mile in, so I'm gonna start heading back. I already got a couple of miles walking at work today, so adding a couple more miles with my 40-pound pack on are gonna help me get the exercise that I need to stay in the shape that this diet has brought me to, and I want to keep it that way. Let's finish the video real quick.
Can you remember a Coca-Cola advert that wasn't like just sort of some young, sexy person or a jolly family or Christmas itself? And McDonald's is also full of life and luster and vivacity and good humour and ease. But it's the actual opposite of what's going on. Have you noticed that? Continually through your culture, they tell you this, but really it's that.
We still have to do it individually in a manner that allows the collective of us to benefit from those individual efforts.
We're going to have to individually awaken and support one another.
Individuals like you, individuals like me, out there that are living the example of eating a diet that changes your life, changes the way you look and feel, changes how people perceive you in your attitude because your mental health is straight, and to be able to encourage them simply by your example. And try not to force it down their throat what you're doing if you're doing a carnivore diet, or even if you're doing something else that eliminates processed foods. Just let them know, well, as long as you eat that poison, you're gonna have these problems. And I'm not telling you what to eat. I don't get on to people when they eat certain things. They may offer it to me and I just look at it and say, no thank you. I really don't want to eat that, because it's not gonna power my body. It's not going to help my mind to function the way I want my body and mind to function. Russell asked, what are we going to do with all these powerful interests always forcing this information down our throat? Is you change the way you think about it. You don't have to view less of it because it's almost impossible to do so. You find yourself driving down the street, you're going to see a billboard. If you're watching YouTube without YouTube Premium, you're going to see commercials for things that you don't want and you don't need. They're just going to be there. But I'm telling you this, when you change the way you think about food, you get a freedom from those things where they don't have a hold on you anymore. That's what we're gonna do. Now, diet sodas are definitely not helpful for you for the very reason that I mentioned earlier, is that they cause your body to think there's sugar on the way, and it begins to deal with it and releases insulin into your system and just creates an insulin resistance in your body. So definitely not the way to do it, because it's gonna lead you to be heavier and more addicted to those things like citric acid that they put in your diet Sprite that cause your Sprite to taste delicious, also happen to hook you on the drink and cause you to have more inflammation. Manufactured citric acid, you can look up any video on my channel that deals with MCA and you can hear about manufactured citric acid and what it's made from and how it works in your body. It causes inflammation in your body. That inflammation causes you to have pains, and then those pains cause you to want comfort food because you're not comfortable. So it creates a vicious circle.
When you get stressed, anxious or depressed, you tend to eat more unhealthy foods, in particular ultra-processed foods that are high in sugar and fat.
And then he talks about getting back to a more natural way of eating, getting something close to the earth. Well, I don't know exactly what the cavemen did in the old days, but I guarantee you they were either hunting or they were raising their old animals in the years past, because we know that coming from not only an agrarian culture here in the United States, there's a lot of farming culture around the world that has been there for thousands of years. When we look at those cave paintings, we see pictures of people throwing spears at animals, and I'm sure they weren't just letting that meat rot. We were eating natural at one time. Even when I was growing up in the early 80s and late 70s, we started to realize, as we started to have all these TV dinners and things in our food, that this is absolutely not what we need to be putting in our bodies. And yet, the low-fat craze came along and convinced us that the things we should be putting in our body are basically the same garbage that we were avoiding by avoiding the TV dinners. You've got to get away from them. You got to get back to some good, healthy eating. And if you want my advice on it, you need to get onto a carnivore way of eating, because you'll find that you'll not only cut out all the processed garbage in your life, but you'll find the healing that I've had in my body from the gut issues that I've had. It's just unlocked things that I never thought it would unlock. And it can do the same for you. And on top of that, you'll be plenty strong, eating all the proper amino acids that come from eating animal protein and the things that your body needs to build muscle, the fat that your brain needs to be able to function properly. Speaking of which, now I can see my food is in the PreSear mode, and I'm starting to get closer to the house. So it's gonna be ready just in time for me to get back, maybe even get a shower in so I can sit down and enjoy a delicious steak. That and the few carnivore crisps I had earlier are gonna be the totality of what I eat today. And I'm not gonna go to bed hungry. I'm not gonna have any issues where I have cravings. Granted, it took my body some time to get used to this, and it took a little while for me to get mentally adjusted to the fact that when you're hungry, it's not the same thing as wanting something for comfort reasons or for those social reasons that you get involved in eating, where you're just watching somebody else eat and you want to participate, or you want to be involved in what's going on, or maybe you just used to eating before bed or something like that. You get to where you can turn that stuff off because meat is satiating. And as of right now, my chef maker says I've got about 10 minutes left before everything's going to be done. It's still in the pre-sear mode. It's gonna be going to browning soon. I love this chef maker. It is so fantastic. This has really made things easier. Come on, guys. You wanna come outside? All right, I just put Sam away. We just got back from our walk. Still got 8 minutes left on the timer. Just enough time to grab a shower. I'll tell you what, even something as simple as taking a shower is easier thanks to Carnivore Diet. I can reach parts of my body I couldn't use to reach before. I can stand there and wash my feet without having to worry about falling over because I have better balance, I have more strength. And here I just got out of the shower, I got my ruck in, my steak just finished, I'm getting ready to eat. Oh boy, does it look good. Now, being done sous vide mode, it's going to be ready to cut into immediately. Perfect. Looks beautiful. Let's see how it tastes. Juicy, crispy, and delicious, just the way I like it. Awesome. Well, like I say, it's not as hard as it looks. It may be a little hard to change the way you think about things, but when you switch to a carnivore way of eating, you're going to find yourself thinking clearer. You're going to find yourself being able to control the emotions and the desires that you have to do things that are harmful for yourself. And if you're anything like me, you're never going to get tired of day after day eating delicious steak, maybe eating pork or chicken or seafood if you're on a regular carnivore diet. I never get tired of my steak. It's a wonderful way to live. Anyway, that's all I got for this one, guys. I'll see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
Will you please eat healthy food and try your best to fight against the machine that wants you dumb and stupid and sick and ill?